All right. Hello, Covenant Reformed Church. This is music lesson number 2. I'm titling it Music Math. I'm also going to show you a little bit about how to use the SingYourPart app, some things that we had already talked about on Sunday. So this is going to be hopefully a little bit of a quick lesson just to give you some things to practice and some things to keep in mind. And we'll also do a little bit of a review of the notes and that kind of thing, the staffs, like we talked about in lesson 1. Okay, so before we jump into that stuff, this is the SingYourPart app, okay? So basically, I chose the song that I wanted, and so if we just come back here, I just searched in here, Word, because I know it's Word and Water, Bread and Wine, so here it is, 474, so I'm clicking on that. It takes me here. Now, when I push play on this, it's going to play all these parts together, okay? Okay? Now, that's all of the parts together. If I want to learn one part, though, I'm going to take these and I'm going to slide them all down. Just say I want to learn the tenor part. I'm going to slide them all down, just like that. So now, just the tenor should play. Doodles over all and feeds all creatures great and small. So now I can sing along to that with my part. Now, I think it's a little bit more helpful to sing with the voices. And not all of them have the voice option, but a lot of the more difficult ones do, helpfully. So you can click on vocals. So I just did that. I'm going to turn the tenor part up, and now we should hear a male voice singing. Let's try it again.
Our triune God rules over all and feeds all creatures great and small.
Yeah, so it's helpful. I'm going to turn the volume up a little bit. Let's see here. Okay, let's try this again. So now I would just play this over and over again and sing along with it.
Our triune God rules over all and feeds all creatures great and small.
And then there's a rest.
From sky, from earth, from sky again, from sky, from earth, from sky again.
Rest.
From sky, from earth, from sky again, our God feeds all the sons of
men. And that's it. You just do that over and over again, and you just keep singing it until you learn the part. That's probably the way that most people... I mean, I can read music, and I don't learn the music by just sitting down and reading it. I learn it by singing it over and over again, just like that. So if we were going to do the same thing for the ladies, we want to learn the alto part, which I think most of the ladies were saying that this is their range, really. It's the lower female range. We do the same thing. You take the alto line, bring that all the way up, and then we should just hear that part.
Our triune God rules over all and feeds all creatures great and small.
And then you rest, and you get the idea. So you just listen to the whole thing. Now, you can also click over here, this little note here, or this PDF button, one or the other, it's the same. Click on that, and now it'll show you the music. Now I'll use this as the basis for our review of the notes. If we remember this here, all this filigree over here, make sure you can see my mouse, all the filigree over here, this is the G clef. And remember that this is identifying the note that it wraps around. So it's this second line here. So if this is G, then we remember our acronym, every good boy does fine. E, G, B, D, F. And then the spaces spell face, F-A-C-E. And just to remind you, this is G. It is as simple as the alphabet. So remember that the music alphabet only goes from A to G. So G is the last note of the alphabet, which means the next space above it is the next note in the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And then if we were to go backwards, if this is G, this line here is G, then F, E, D, C, B. This note here is a B because this line is C, this space is D, The next line, which is the first line of the clef, is E. The first space of the clef is F, and then the note that gets this clef, that gives this clef its name, is here. That's G. So you can see every good boy does fine, and then the spaces spell face. F-A-C-E. Now, something Nick said to me, which I just had not thought of before, but it's pretty simple, and I think it's a helpful way to remember this. This is like a ladder. The lines are like a ladder. And so basically, if you see the notes go down, so like from this note to this note, it's going down, then you know you're going down the ladder. So you go down. If you see it going up, like these 4 notes here are going up, all here, and then again here, it's going up the ladder. So we're going to go up with our voice. Do, 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 do. Okay, so that's the G clef. This is what the ladies are going to be singing. This is the soprano, and this is the alto. Okay, soprano and alto. This is the G clef. Now, for the men, this is the F clef down here. This wraps around like so. It's F clef. The 2 dots here. This is the F clef. So that tells us that this line here is an F. Now the same principle is true. It just goes up. So if this is F, the next space above it is G, and then the next line above that is A. Because remember, the music alphabet only goes from A to G, so it starts over. So if we just do our acronym here, good boys do fine. This is the F clef. This is F. Good boys do fine always. And all cows eat grass. All cows eat grass. Okay, so that's how we identify the notes. The tenor is the top part, and the bass is the bottom part. Okay? So let's identify these first 3 notes here. If we start at the bottom with the men, this is all cows eat. This is an E. Okay? And if you notice, the stem here is going up and the stem is going down. That means that the tenors and the basses are singing the same note. So the tenors and the basses all start on the same note, E. Okay? Now, if we go up here, we are going to try and figure out what the alto note is as well as the soprano note. Okay? Now, this is a little bit of a tricky note to identify because it's on what we call a ledger line. It's not a line that's associated with these 5 lines of the G clef. But it's basically just knowing the alphabet. So if we know the first line is E, because remember, every good boy does fine. If this is E, what comes before E in the alphabet? D. And if this space here is D, what comes before D in the alphabet? C. So this line here that you see, that represents C. And we looked at last time that that's actually middle C, because this is C, and then it looks exactly the same on the F clef, the C here. So if this line is C, then the note that comes directly before it is B. So we can identify that this is a B. Now I promise you, if you go through the steps of this enough times, your brain will automatically identify these notes. They don't change. So this will always be E, this will always be D, this will always be C, and this will always be B. And eventually, if you do it enough, your brain will come to translate that information for you, just like it does words that you're reading on the page automatically. It does that. Okay? So, we know we're singing an E down here, and we're singing a B up here. So let's see if we can figure out what this note is. Every good boy. That's pretty simple. That's a B. So there's 2 notes here. There's an E and there's a B. This is a B and this is a B. Whenever you're playing on an instrument or singing 2 of the same notes but in different ranges like this is called an octave. It's called an octave because there are 7 notes in between. If you think about it, ready? B, C, D, E, F, G, A, and then the eighth note, B. Okay? So B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. The eighth note. It's like the eighth day, which is the first day of the week, but it's the eighth day. And it's the same concept with the musical notes. You start with B. B goes to A. That's 7 days. And then you start again on B. That's the eighth note. That's the eighth day, as it were. Start again on Sunday. That's the 8. Okay, so we call that an octave. Okay, so that's a little bit of a review here. So how I would use this app then, if I were you. Usually what I would do is, just if I'm driving to work or something, I will just take whatever part I want to learn and I'll turn it up and then I'll sing that. And then slowly I would add other parts, like I would add the soprano line, so then you can listen to it together. Now here's the cool thing. We can play this and then go to the music and follow along. So ready, we'll do that.
From sky again, from sky, from earth, from sky.
Well, let's start it over. We'll do this. Okay, ready? Here we go.
Oh, a triangle God rules over all the feeds, all creatures great and small. From sky, from earth, from sky again, from sky, from earth, from sky, earth,
Feeds the sons of men
from sky, from earth, from sky again, God feeds all the sons of men.
And that's it.
His word restores the blind.
Now it's good practice to try and sing with the other parts. If you really want to take your practice to the next level, though, then you'll take away your part so you don't have the help. This is how you really know you know it. You take away your part and add the other parts, and then you sing the part that's missing. So I'm going to try and do it for you. See if I can get my first note here. Man, I'm nervous.
Oh,
Okay, ready?
Our
triune God rules over all and feeds all creatures great and small.
From sky, from earth,
From sky, from earth, from sky again, from sky, from earth, from sky again.
And God feeds all the sons of men.
From sky, from earth, from sky again, our God feeds all the sons of men.
His words
tricky.
rest.
I'll tell you what doesn't help, and I'm going to probably send something to them on this, because the alto is not in time for whatever reason whenever you do it together. So don't let that throw you off. Whenever you listen to it all together, the alto is a little bit out of time. Okay. Now, for the actual lesson for today, we're going to learn how to understand the duration of notes, hence the name of the lesson, Music Math. What they give you here is an example of probably the most common notes you're going to find in the type of music that we're going to sing. But if you go through this lesson, remember this is on musictheory.net. It's super helpful for a basic understanding of the language of music, the stuff that we use to determine what the music is, basically musical notation, how you read music. There has to be set information that you can glean from the written note. And so this is what all we're getting introduced to. When you see a note that looks like this, that means something. When you see a note that looks like this, that means something. Making sure my mouse is visible for you guys. So we call it a language because we know that letters have a concrete fixed meaning. They have a concrete fixed sound. It's the same with the music. We need to know that what the musical notation is actually trying to represent to us. So these are basically the types of notes that we're going to learn about. The whole note, the half note, the quarter note, the eighth note, and the 16th note. And if you can read a ruler, then you can do the math of music. So we'll just run through this. So first of all, they're basically just going to tell you the whole note. It's worth, 2 half notes. It's worth 4 quarter notes, 8 eighth notes, and so on and so forth. So here's the breakdown. This is a whole note. It's worth 2 half notes. If you think about The whole note is $1. There's 4 quarters that make up $1. There's 2 sets of 50 cents that make up $1. Basically the same thing. Then we go to quarter note. Now that we're just adding the layers here. So this is a whole note, 2 half notes, and then 4 quarter notes in $1 or a whole note, 2 quarter notes in a half note. Okay, and I'll show you what this means practically in a second. We add the flag on it. That tells us that it's now half as much. It's an eighth note, so now they're going to add that in there. An eighth is 2/8 equals 1/4, right? If we think of the fraction, 2/8 equals 1/4. So 2/8 notes is equal to the duration of 1/4 note. And then the 16th note, same thing. We get 2 16th notes is equal to the duration of 1/8 note. And 4 16th notes is equal to 2/8 notes, which is equal to 1/4 note. So just think fractions. 4 16ths is equal to 2/8 is equal to 1/4. So they're pointing out here that you can keep adding flags. So 16 goes to 32nd, goes to 64th, and so on and so forth. Now here's the whole thing. And that's it. This is basically it. Whole note, you can have 2 half notes in a whole note, 4 quarter notes in a whole note. Okay, now look at this. 8 eighth notes in a whole note. And then 16 16th notes. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So there's 2, 4, 8, 16. It's like Fibonacci. It's always doubling. 2 times 2 is 4. And then 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 plus 8 is 16. So it's always doubling. Okay? So basically, you just need to understand the concept, and then I think it'll make sense. But we'll look at it in the music, and then we'll be able to make sense of it a little bit more, I think. All right, but before we look at the music, there's 2 more things that I want you to learn. The first one is time signatures and measures. Time signatures and measures, and then the second one is rests. Because the notes have a duration, but then we also need to know how long we're resting if we're not supposed to be singing or playing. So first, let's look at the measures and the time signatures. As we said before, this is the staff. So this is G clef, okay? We're looking at a staff, a G clef. But the staff is usually broken down into what's called measures, and the measures are determined by these vertical lines here. And we're going to find all these. We're going to do a scavenger hunt. We're going to find all these in our music that we're learning. I'm going to do that in a second. But these are measures, okay? Now, the time signature basically tells you what's inside each measure. And these are what the time signatures look like. And it's very easy once you understand it. It's very easy. This is just telling you, over here, make sure you can see my mouse, that there are 4 quarter notes in each measure. There are 4 quarter notes in each measure, okay? This one then, if you can extrapolate from that, what this one was saying, there are 3 quarter notes in each measure. Because remember, a quarter in fractions is 1/4. 1/4. Well, this is 3 quarters. So it's saying there's 3 quarter notes in each measure. Each delineated measure here, there's 3 quarter notes. And over here, there are 4 quarter notes in each delineated measure. Okay? So this is what it would look like. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 quarter notes. Now you think about what that might mean. That means it could also be 2 half notes, because a half note equals 2 quarter notes. So it could be 2 half notes, or it could be 1 whole note, because 1 whole note equals 2 half notes or 4 quarter notes. So any of those would be fine, because it fills up that entire duration of value. 4 quarter notes. If we go to the second measure here, 3 quarter notes, this is what it looks like. There's 3 quarter notes here. So if we want to think about it this way, that means it could have a 1 half note and 1 quarter note. But a whole note would not be able to fit in this measure because it's too long. It equals 4 quarter notes, and each measure in this construction only has 3 quarter notes. Okay? There's 2 other ways that they are going to show you how this can be delineated. The first one is this way, 6/8. This is basically saying that there are 6/8 notes in this measure. So there's going to be 6/8 notes, and they'll show you this. This is 3 half notes. Okay, 3 half notes. So let's see what it looks like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6/8 notes, and 3 half notes. Okay. And now we have all 4 of them that we looked at. 4 quarters, 3 quarters, 6/8, or 3 halves. Okay? Pretty basic. If you think about it like a game, the rules of the game are, if you're looking at this is telling you how many you can put in each measure. How many of what you can put in each measure. So you can put 4 quarter notes in there, and now you can figure out any mathematical way to make sure that it equals 4 quarter notes within that measure. If you want to use one whole note, you can. If you want to use 2 half notes, you can. If you want to use a half note and 2 quarters, you can do that. If you want to use a half note and 4/8 notes, you can do that. As long as it equals a whole note or 4 quarter notes, then that would be doing what the notation is saying should be done. That's how we can understand it. Okay? So, last thing. We've been what we were just talking about is measures and time signatures. Now we're going to talk about rests. Okay? We talked about measures, we talked about time signatures, we talked about note duration, and now we're going to talk about rests. How you know when to sing and when to not sing. So these rests are periods of not singing, of resting. Okay? And they have here what each of the rests up here is representing in terms of its value. We learned that this was a whole note, this is a half note, quarter note, 8th note, 16th note, right? And so then we have these different kinds. This is a half note, this is a whole note rest. This is a half note rest. This is a quarter rest. This is an 8th rest. This is a 16th rest. Now, some tricks to remember this. The whole rest. Someone said this to me once and I never forgot it. It's like you're walking along and then you fall into the hole. So if it's under the line like this, and it's a hole you can fall into, then it's a whole rest. So that's worth 4 quarter notes. If it's a hat, so like you can see that this is like a top hat, it's a half. Hat equals half. So if you're walking along and you run into the hat, then it's a half note. If you're walking along and you fall into the hole, it's a whole note. Okay? This is worth 4 quarters. This is worth 2 quarters. This is like lightning bolt. The lightning bolt is a quarter note. Okay, this is 1 quarter note. And the one little flag here, that's an 8th note, and it kind of represents the one flag on the 8th note. This is a 16th note. You can see the 2 little flags here. That's a 16th note. Okay? So, whole rest, half rest, quarter rest, 8th rest, 16th rest. Okay? So, these are what you would see in the music, 4 quarter notes, okay? But now they're going to replace one with a quarter rest. So you could see this. This is still 1, 2, 3, 4 quarter notes, and so we're abiding by our rules. This is the time signature. See, 4 quarter notes in one measure, so there have to be enough quarter notes to fill up this, what this is requiring. And so this is 1, 2, 3, 4. But it's telling us that instead of singing each time, we're actually going to sing, rest, sing, sing. Okay? So now what it's saying down here is when played, the second beat is now silent. So these are all the other kinds of rests. We talked about the flag. 2 flags, a 16th. And then you could keep adding flags. So this would be a 32nd note. This would be a 64th note. And this is the chart for reference. This is, if you're falling into the hole, it's a whole rest. It equals 2 half rests, and see how they look like a top hat whenever they're kind of cut out like that? The hats are half. And then you have the quarter notes, quarter rests, I mean, the 8th rests, and the 16th rests. Okay, I think that gives us enough information. I'm just going to summarize all of that while we look at the music. And then that'll be it for lesson 2. Okay? Some of the things that we were just talking about. First of all, let's look at the time signature. That's what you're going to want to start with. Time signature we see right over here. This looks familiar, doesn't it? It's 4/4 time. So that means we should be able to find 4 quarter notes in each measure. We should be able to find 4 quarter notes in each measure. Okay? Now, this piece of music is not going to be, it's pretty straightforward. So there's not going to be nothing surprising. We're going to need to learn a few more bits of information in order to make sense of everything we're seeing here, but the vast majority of what you would need to make sense of this, you already know, if you just apply the information in the first 2 lessons. But we'll run through this. So 4 quarter notes. Now notice, it starts with a rest. I'm going to give you a minute to see if you can identify what kind of rest this is. I'm going to give you 3 seconds. Okay, now remember, if you're walking along and you run into a hat, it's a half note. Half rest, I mean. So this is worth 2 quarter notes. So this is worth 2 quarter notes. Remember, we need to see 4 quarter notes in each measure. So this is worth 2 quarter notes. And then we get these notes here, and notice they are hollow with a stem. And that is a half note. So we have 2 half notes and 2 halves, each equal 2. So this half is 2 quarters. This half is 2 quarters. So together there are 4 quarters in this measure. There's a half note rest and then a half note to start off. Okay? Now if we keep going, we can still identify. This one's very easy. There's 4 quarter notes. Okay? There are also 4 quarter notes in this measure, but don't worry about the dot and the 8th note here. We're going to discuss what that means in a later lesson. But there are 4 quarter notes in this measure, 4 quarter notes in this measure. This measure has 2 quarter notes and then a half note. 2 quarter notes and then a half note. And then this half note is tied, which means we would hold it for the duration of this and this. So we would sing da 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 da. So it crosses that measure. They just want you to hold this for 1, 2, 3, 4 quarter notes. Okay? Because notice this then starts with, these are half rests and a half note down here. And this is telling you which parts are going to be resting and which parts are going to be singing. So up here, the soprano and the alto are resting. And then look at, we're walking along and we fall into the hole. So this is a whole note rest. It's 4 quarters. So the soprano and the alto are resting for all of this section. Okay? And they're resting again all the way to here until finally here. And now we have 2 rests. This one has a dot. Like I said, we're going to explain that later. But this is the sopranos resting. This is the altos resting. The altos are resting for, this is a walking along, falling into the hole. It's a whole note rest. So they're resting for this entire measure. The altos. The sopranos up top are only resting for 3 beats in this measure, and then they come in on the 4th beat. So if we were going to count this out, we would sing great and so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. From sky, from earth, from. Okay? Great and small. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. From sky, from earth, from. Okay? If we're just counting it out that way, that would be the standard way to do it. We know there's 4 quarters. So we count to 4 for each measure. This is 1, 2, Our triune God rules over all and feeds all creatures great and small. So if I was counting that out, 1, 2. Our triune God rules over all and feeds all creatures great and small. Then rest. And then resting for 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. From sky, from earth, and so on and so forth. So we can practice this more whenever we're in person, but I'll show you a little bit with the basses here and the tenors. You can see basses and tenors. Once again, starting with a half note, it looks like a hat. So this would be 1, 2, and then the half note here, which is our for 2 beats. Our triune God rules. That's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Triune God rules, and then 4 here. Over all and feeds all creatures great and small. So feeds all creatures, that's 4. Great and small, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Great and small. But then we have the tie. So this ties to the first 2 beats of the next measure too. So it's great and small. Okay? Great and small. 3, 4, 1, 2. And then the basses start right off. Okay, so it's great and small. From great and small. I'm trying to do it so I can see everything. Okay, here we go. It's hard to see the notes, the word. You can't really see the words up here and down here at the same time. But and feeds all creatures great and small. From sky, from earth, from sky again, from sky, and so on and so forth, okay? So this is tied to the next measure. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right? So just to summarize, 4 quarter notes in a measure, that's the time signature. We're seeing rests, we're seeing different durations of notes, but mainly quarters and half notes, mainly. It's mainly quarter notes and half notes. The quarter notes are the ones that have the stem that are filled in. The half notes are the ones that have the stem and are not filled in. Okay, and the ones that are not filled in, they're hollow and they have a stem. The half notes, they're worth 2 quarters. Versus the quarter notes, which are each worth 1 quarter, obviously. Okay? Okay, so the lesson is over, but this is optional. We're just going to let the Christchurch people sing through it for us, and then we're going to follow along in the music here. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see this. This is the PDF that's available on the Christchurch website associated with, you can find it here. If you go to Word, Water, Bread, and Wine, you go to the actual page once it loads. You have the MP3 available, you have the video available, you have the sheet music available. If you click on the sheet music, this is where it takes you here. Okay, this is what it looks like. So this is what we're going to follow along with because it's a little bit easier to follow, I think. And then we're going to listen to it at the same time. So this is just optional if you guys want to do this, okay? Okay, here we go. 3, 4, 1, 2. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. One, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Okay, so then basses, tenors, sopranos, altos. Then just sopranos and basses, and then all together. And then again. All together. Now, basses, tenors, sopranos, altos, sopranos and basses. All together. And that's it. Amen.